Hello and welcome to the first episode ever of No Stars TV. I am Nelson Flores with my co-host David Rice.
Hello.
And today for our first guest ever, we have Demetrius Navarro. He starred in movies like Friday on TV, on ER for over a decade. And we're here to talk about his movie Bullet Ride, which he directed, produced, and acted in. How you doing, Demetrius? Thank you for being here.
I'm doing quite well. Thank you for having me. Happy to be here.
Demetrius, introduce yourself, please, and tell us a little bit about Assassinations.
Oh my goodness. I'm Demetrius Navarro, and it's funny, all the stuff that you mentioned, the executive producer, Mr. Stephen Jackson, actually made me a shirt that said all that stuff. I should have worn it today, but but it's great. So I'm out here in Los Angeles, in Hollywood, and thankful that you guys have me here on the show.
Tell me a little bit about the movie before we play the trailer.
Okay, it was written by a friend of mine, Enrico Natale, and he's co-director on the film as well, because it's very difficult to be on camera for so long without, you need somebody to have it on the other side. So it was great working with him. He actually wrote it for us. We both filmmakers. He's produced with me on several films, and he said I had this comedy for us. So I read it, it was hilarious. And so my thing is, I have a theater background. I like to have table reads to hear it, and then I can visualize it. So I asked Valente Rodriguez to be part of the table read. We had it, and I mean, we were dying laughing. So I said, okay, let me keep it in my library and see, because when I get approached by executive producers or film investors, some want action, some want drama, some want a romantic comedy, some want a kids movie, whatnot. So I said, let me keep it, see what happens. And yeah, I got asked a dark comedy about the business. And I said, do I have a movie for you? We did the Martini Shot. Then we did one that should be coming out later, probably around Halloween time.
Oh, cool. Awesome. That sounds great. And originally the movie is called Martini Shot. And I guess during the process of selling the movie, it got changed to Bullet Ride. What was the reason why changing the name?
Yeah, once, and that's what a lot of filmmakers don't get upset about. Don't spend too much money on artwork on a poster, or don't fall in love with the title. Because once you give it to a distributor, they're going to put it in through their analysis, and they're going to decide what the poster is going to look like, who's on the poster, and the name of the movie. So when they went out with Martini Shot is the last shot of a movie. And if you're in the business, you know that. But if you're not in the business and you're looking at something and the movie says Martini Shot, you might think it's a movie about a bar, cocktail number 2 or something, part 2. So they changed it because they said a lot of people would not understand that that's what it meant. And although we say it early in the movie, we'll have the person, it's going to happen at the Martini Shot. They said it would fly over people, or if somebody wants to rent it, somebody wants to see it, they see Bullet Ride, they go and it's this action comedy. Like, that's not what the title meant. So Bullet Ride, it's kind of more of what you're going through. But yeah, we don't control that or who's on the poster at all, because
I definitely like the movie and the name, and I like that it's the name of the movie in the movie.
Yes,
it works out nicely. I think that works out great. So that being said, let's check out the trailer real quick.
It was the perfect setup.
It was the perfect setup.
Deceived by their own friend.
Do it while you can, Paulie. My brothers will hunt you down.
Fuck your brother.
I killed Paul. I want his head on my wall.
But the 4 stepbrothers banded together.
Hermano, my brother. Kill them all.
They get ready to go on a bullet ride. A story of friendship.
Friends? No, brothers.
A story of love. A story of death. From the producers that brought you the Prune series comes the action hit of the year.
I will be the last face you'll ever see.
Ride.
Okay. So what I'm laughing at is that that's the trailer for the movie Bullet Ride in Bullet Ride, right? So like the movie ends with that trailer to show that, you know, the movie was done, you know, this movie's done, you're going to sell this movie and everything. Yeah, yeah. So what was that like though, filming a movie within a movie? Like, what was that like?
Wow, for as far as continuity was crazy because we had to say, wait a minute, is this the movie or is this the movie? So, but it was a lot of fun. We knew it going in, but yeah, we did have to ask like the casting crew, sometimes what's going on. They would ask us what's going on, and but once we got into the first couple of days, we got the rhythm of it, and then everybody loved it. So they knew it, and the Bullet Ride crew, they knew that they can have fun with their characters, be big, you know, because many times as a director, you kind of bring actors back and you put them here. But for Bullet Ride, it was go on, be as big as you want something. No, bigger, I need it bigger. Like with Lujan, with Daniel Lujan, when Raquel is shot, it's supposed to be like this big gruesome thing, and it's just like one little dot with one little drop of blood, and he's saying no, and he gets mad. Lujan's a really, really good singer. I mean, the guy sang with Mariachi USA. He was winner on Cuanto Cuesta el Show in Texas, won some money, got his car, and that's why he came to Hollywood. So Lujan, I go, you know what? I'm going to put a camera on top of you, man. And when you say no, sing it as a note. And so, I mean, that's silly, but he loved it. So that's when he looks at himself, no. Then he starts singing, oh. He starts going into vibrato. So, you know, so they had a lot of fun. Those guys from Bullet Ride, they really, really enjoyed it.
But the trailer conveys that, though. The trailer conveys that it's a film of exaggeration. I mean, when I saw the movie, I was like, this is over the top, you know, high theatrics. But the trailer sets you up for that you're going to see a film that's just over the top, you know, the brothers and all this gunfire and all this yelling. So I thought it was done quite nicely because from the trailer, we're going to see something that's really exaggerated, but also meant to be taken kind of lighthearted. You know, it is a dark comedy, but it's also got a lot of fun in it.
Yes.
Yes. And like, I want to show one clip that shows, you know, it takes us to the movie Bullet Ride, and then it takes us on the outside to see the crew working on Bullet Ride. And you get to see, I mean, you really get to see how a movie is made of where we're seeing you shoot the Bullet Ride stuff, and then you're showing the scene of what was just shot. Anyway, let's just play the clip and you'll see what I'm talking about.
It's okay.
So like they're here, they're not firing anything. They're just pretending and, you know, shooting, but then everything's done in post. Like, I really, really liked that scene because it shows people, like when I bring my parents on set sometimes, they're like, I didn't know it takes all these things to do these movies or these commercials. You know, and it takes a big crew, you know? So, you know, the other thing is that those people in the scenes, I mean, that's the actual camera person, that's an actual boom person, that's an actual PA. Tell me about how
Video Village.
How they feel about being in the movie? That's
Video Village. So we're watching them actually make it. So we were taking advantage of everything, and stuff. So that was all real. That was all real.
You're like, here we are, here at Video Village. Just bring the cameras to Video Village, and we'll just film it here for a little bit. That's awesome.
Yeah. So that was in Enrico, and the gentleman playing Harvey Laurie, that is Harvey Laurie. He's a director and director special visual effects. His company was nominated for a couple of Oscars, and being a friend, he came and played himself in the movie.
Well, going back to Rico, awesome. When he wrote the script for you guys, and then you did a table read. But what was the pitch like? Because, you know, this is an exaggerated film. It's got a lot of movement, a big cast, a big crew. So how did you pitch it to the investors saying, we want to make this movie and we think it's got what it takes to go to the big screen? How did you convince them? I mean, the script's good, but what was your pitch about the movie?
With a lot of wine. A lot of wine. I was, Stephen and I were talking about making a movie together. He has helped me with other films, like, you know, with Jobs, or he came in as a partial investor, but he came up and had told me he wanted to do 2 movies back to back. and wanted to utilize that we had the crew, if we can use some of the same locations. So I went through, so it was not so much that it was the one film, it was the package. So I was able to find The Taker, which takes place in a warehouse, that then I converted the sound stages that we shot, Martini shot, into those warehouses. So I told them we can utilize the locations, utilize the same crew, and we used a lot of the same actors in both. So that's what opened it up, because he was looking at it at a business and how can he stretch his dollar more. And so it was just like the perfect storm. So I just presented the two, and he said, actually there was 3 out of 2. So he picked them. So he picked those 2. Horror always does well, and he just loved when he read it. And the other one, actually, he put aside, and spoke with him yesterday. He wants to make it hopefully at the end of this summer, if the studios and everything open up after all the quarantine stuff. So it still stayed there after all these years, and now it's opening up again.
So with the cast, if you use both cast in both films, and you talk to the actors and say, hey, we're going to make these 2 films back to back, we can use the actors in both movies. So the actors like this, don't they? I mean, you have 2 films you can be in.
Yeah, they loved it. We used Raquel Pamplun, the one, she's the female lead in Bullet Ride. She was actually the lead in The Taker. There was another gentleman that I had used in a movie I shot in Texas called American Justice, Kenzo. Kenzo plays the camera operator in Bullet Ride. He was the villain in The Taker. So we used quite a bit of people, and whether they had a smaller part of one movie, we made sure they had a bigger part in another. And all the crew was the same. So Damian King, who you see as my first AD in Bullet Ride, he was my first AD in The Taker. So they all loved it because they had a job for a couple months.
That's cool. That's great. So speaking of all the setups, different locations, did y'all have different locations? Y'all had one place you filmed both movies? Tell me about your locations and set moves.
Mr. Todd Seligman and his wife, Cyan Seligman. Thank you and much love.
Yeah, great people.
They own these warehouses in Los Angeles where they store a lot of studio stuff. So I'm talking about several huge soundstage warehouses. And so they had some that they weren't really using that much, and said we can shoot there. I went to go look at the locations, and not only, I mean, these buildings are next to each other. They're massive. We have rooftop access overlooking LA, but there was also this train track next to it where trains don't go anymore. So we had complete access to that. So it was basically like it would have cost us millions of dollars to build what you guys saw, but that was actually the location that was there. So we had to just move from one end to another. And from one end another of the lot. The only time we actually had to leave and do a company move was when we shot here. We shot at my house, where where we're talking about doing the hit. That was actually here, and the shot was right here. The ladies were sitting there. Then we actually went to the other room where we shot. But the rest, it was all one centralized location for 2 movies, and that's what the investor loved.
Well, then that being the case, the script that Rico wrote had to be flexible, like for the train tracks, right? You have the guys walking on the train tracks. Mm-hmm. You have Ledon jumping over buildings. Yes. So was that in the original script, or when you saw the locations, you adjust the script for the locations?
Yeah, we did have to adapt and adjust a bunch of stuff, but it lent itself for that, because they had a bunch of props there already. So when we go see Ledon and we're passing through all these doors and this big, what is it, like a big safe door that she's opening up and whatnot, that stuff was there. The restaurant location, we got some slats, our wonderful design crew, production design, they made it look, because it was there. So we did have to adjust. He did have to adjust to it, but he was like a kid in a candy store, because, oh yeah, we'll make it like this, or we'll do it like this. Or Ledon, instead of going through buildings and alleys like it was in the original script, he's jumping over buildings, and stuff like that.
So that means that you had Rico then, and you as a producer, Enrico, would walk through the locations and then rethink the scenes and then say, hey, we can adjust for this, the railroad tracks, for example, which is a great shot. where the guys are walking down. So you could then, on the fly, adjust the script.
There was a lot of flying on that movie. I'll tell you that. We're adjusting a lot.
It's awesome. And we were just recently talking about the two different the scripts that y'all did right back to back. One's darker. This is kind of a dark comedy. It's more lighthearted, but I mean, there's a point in the film where there's a decision that can be made of saying, how dark do I really want to take Bullet Ride? And let me just show the scene real quick. I'm not going to show the entire scene, but just a little bit of it.
That Ledger rocked that role, and that The Dark Knight was a good movie. But you can't deny that his death is one of the reasons that movie is one of the highest grossing films of all time. Meaning? We make sure something like that happens in our movie. Look, it worked for The Crow, it obviously worked for The Dark Knight.
We can't anticipate someone's untimely death.
Not anticipate. Instigate.
So like right there to me is that turning point. Like, can we make it darker? Or, you have a decision there. Like, how dark do you really want to go? How did you make that decision there of keeping it more lighthearted, dark instead of dark?
Well, I think it was the balance with Enrico's character in mind, where my guy was just desperate and I'm willing to go dark. And so it was him letting the wheels turn. So that's something he and I did discuss and work out before every scene like that one, where it's him having this struggle where my guy's like, let's just do it. I don't want to get my head cracked in. Let's just do it. So it was that balance. So we would discuss it ahead of time. And then again, it'd be odd because then when we were both on camera like that, then we would both have to run back, get playback and see it. But if he was just on camera, then I would be able to see it. If I was just on camera, then he would, and we give each other notes. But on stuff like that, we definitely had to work it through ahead of time.
But then also, I thought that the scene where it got dark for a minute there about, what are we going to do about this lead actor? Then you hire the assassin, and the assassin is very comical. When you walk through all those doors, like Get Smart, that movie, that TV show, and you get to the dawn,
I love that.
Then it changes at that point.
Yes. Yeah. And thank you for that reference. That's exactly what I wanted. I wanted it to be like a Get Smart type of thing. So thank you very much. Yeah. And John Hennigan, I mean, for him to play the role that way was fantastic. He, as you know, he's a professional wrestler. So for him to come in and work like that and work on that accent, we actually had a friend of mine who's French is his first language, actually was there working with him on the accent. And John worked hard with that accent. And my friend Jean-Guy Dupree said his accent is perfect. Mr. Navarro, it would be like if I would be saying it. So John did great.
Well, when you meet LaDon in his office, and he stands up, he's offended, and his head goes behind a lamp, that overhead lamp.
Oh, that is hilarious. Yes.
Yeah. Was that in the script, or was that like on the fly genius right there?
That was actually John. John went up and hit, and then he just kept going as if it wasn't there. And so I was gonna change it, and Enrico said, "No, let him go with it," which is funny. Like, it's kind of. I was telling Enrico when I was starting out acting, and I went to go meet this agent. He was a small-time agent, but he leaned back in his chair, and he had this fern, and he leaned back in the chair, and the fern kind of like got to him. He's trying to relax, and then he pretended like it wasn't like he meant it to happen. So we continued the whole interview process with the fern on his face. I told Enrico that story beforehand, and he said, "Dude, that's the fern thing." And so, yeah, so we just let him. Yeah, so
yeah, and actually that's a great segue, David, because like the cast, I think the cast was awesome. The team, the Bullet Ride team is great. You're great. Enrico's great. Like, yeah, there's a really good cast. And I mean, there's one scene like that one, but the scene where you and Enrico are talking to Bones about the certain thing y'all want, you're trying to find the right recruit for what you're trying to do. And I just have a question about one of these scenes, but Chris, let's play the scene of Bones and his reaction.
Bones. You should maybe think of changing your name. I mean, Bones is very misleading.
So I need to know, is that an actor's decision or a director's decision of the because I felt it. I totally felt where he's coming from with that. That was awesome. I watch that scene all the time.
Well, all right. So Kelly Muscle's a tough dude. All right. He has a book called From oh man, it's gonna kill me. The book From Ex-Con to Icon. All right, so there you go. Ex-Con to Icon. Great book. So he's a tough dude and intimidating. I mean, his muscles are like the size of my thighs. So when we were doing it, yeah, he has this tough demeanor. So he kept doing it, and then like, oh, okay, and he'd look at us and be sad. So a couple of takes, I went up to him and I said, okay, Kelly, what I need you to be like a little baby. I need you to be like a little baby pouting. All right, so give me that. But this whole thing, that was all him. That was all him. I was just trying to guide him where to go with the, and then he's drooling too. Yeah, that was all Kelly. I didn't tell him to drool. I didn't tell him to do some clawing or anything. I just tried to get him there, and he gave me more than what I could have, told him exactly what to do. And he gave me better than that. So it was great.
I mean. That's true. That scene alone, if I were to make a movie, I'm going to put him in the movie because that scene alone right there. Because I'm like, I know he's got it. Yeah, to pull something like that off.
But this goes back to also Valente Rodriguez,
right?
Who you had in your film as a prominent lead. I mean, that guy's a master at character acting, exaggeration, theatrics. He did a lot of stage work as a young man and in college, and now he's did TV shows. And when you see Valente in your movie, where he's overblown director, right? And it's really, really hilarious. And then he does that serious part with the other character, Jared. I just thought it was really neat how you captured Valente in these exaggerated moments of acting and also in these serious moments. So you had just an amazing cast, the range they had for this very comical film.
Working with Val, I've had the pleasure of working with him on several of my movies. And Val is just like driving a Ferrari, man. You kind of just like, let it go. It's easy. He's the consummate professional. He's a good friend. So he would come in, discuss what I was thinking, what he was thinking, and usually what he was thinking was probably better than what I was thinking. So my job is to capture it and make sure the people around him give him what he needs, to feed off of. Like, you don't sit there and stay in awe or be in the moment with him, or this is what he's going to deliver and let them work it out. But yeah, Val, he's great. And the only reason why he's not in all my movies is because he's busy a lot. But I always give him a call. I give him a call. Hey, Val, I'm working on something. And if he's available, we do it. If not, the next one.
We got that clip, right, Nelson, of Valente?
Yeah, so this is really cool scene that we like to Valente because when like David was saying, Valente is that character actor, always big, bumbling and stuff like that, but like we capture him it's a serious but not a serious scene. And when I watched the scene, we watched a scene where it was curious, like, is this an improv scene or is this in the script? And so let's watch that scene real quick of Valente's seriousness.
It was just, a bad sushi chef. But they're not all good. That's all I'm saying. They're not all good.
So you went to a bad sushi chef that slicked you
some bad pufferfish, and that's what caused my hemorrhoids. That's exactly what I'm saying. If it hadn't been for the pufferfish, I wouldn't have been in the fucking hospital for 2 months with asphyxiated rectum. Apparently, is what they said.
That was not written. That was Val.
That's just it. He wrote that in his head in that moment. I mean, he was on the set, and you guys said, "All right, let's do this." And Valente and that guy Jared just ran with it.
Yeah,
and that was really good.
Jared and him. Jared's a very good actor as well, Jared Winkler, and so they did what was in the dialogue, but then Val just kept going, and Jared just kept countering with him, and it was hilarious. Yeah, Enrico and I were dying behind the camera back there, and it was Val just kept going.
Yeah, that was great. But like we said, I mean, and another thing that we talked about, like, there's a lot of people in this. Everybody you worked with is you talked about it being a labor of love, and it wasn't a great big budget or anything like that. But we noticed things that we noticed was you were using real names in the movie or initials of the real names. Seeing the Boxcar Productions information on the back. How much of this was based on real life? Why make that decision?
I will never try to kill somebody to make a movie. Put that out there right now. Enrico wrote it, so you need to ask him about that one. Oh, right. There's a producer that's saying, oh, he probably has his headphones on. He's actually a friend that came from San Francisco. Said, "Can I stay about a week? I'm looking for a place in Pasadena." I said, "Sure." And then they quarantined and closed, so he's been here a little longer. So yeah. So no, that decision, we decided that we're gonna go, since Mr. Natale, like, never call him Enrico. Me, Mr. Navarro, never say Demetrius. If anything, they say D, and they do call me D. That was something Enrico and I said, since Enrico wrote it for us, let's just go that way. Then it started happening. Then Damien is going to be our first AD. Well, hey, Damien, yep, you do first AD work. He's now a director, but he did a lot of first AD work. So we asked everybody. We asked everybody, see if they were fine with it, and they were. But we never used first and last. We just all felt really connected with the script, and it felt like a little piece of everybody. So everyone was fine with it.
Well, on the page of all the actors, when I did some research on the film, I noticed that a lot of the actors, have been directors or writers on other films. So it seemed that you had a cast and crew who knew what they were doing on set, how to be professional on set. And so that was very valuable, like I would imagine, for your filmmaking process, because everyone there knows what they're doing. Yes,
everyone, they did know what they were doing, and they knew we were going to capture them as well on camera. And so they were all okay. And again, these are people that I had worked with on prior films. So when this one came up, they just said, okay, we're going to have a lot of fun with people we like. Let's go. So that's what we did.
Well, it shows. It shows because there's so much movement on the set. On a lot of scenes, you see the crew walking behind, and yet the editing was pretty flawless, man. I didn't catch any mistakes personally. It was, and there was so much movement on it.
Yeah, that's Mr. John Vasquez. John, I bring my editor onto the set. So many films, they wait to the end and then they go into post. I bring John ahead of time. So when we're shooting one scene and we're done with the day's work, John's already loading that down. So now when we go to day 2, John's already doing a skeletal assembly of it. We go to day 3, so by the time we're done, we have a rough assembly. And it's funny, Harvey Laurie, the director that plays the director, he saw that and he said, "D, I've been doing movies. I hadn't seen this before." John's made several movies now for Harvey, and uses that process. It's a real good process. I recommend that for filmmakers if you can afford it. But the good thing is because John's there, John gets to see, Demetrius, with this scene, I'm going to need a B-roll of this to help cut it through. Or, you know what, you gave a shot here, you owe yourself something over here. So it's nice because you see it there. So at the end of the day, I can sit at lunch and see the dailies. Or if John comes and sees me and says, "Look, I caught this," and he'll bring me a little, video monitor for me to see stuff. So we're kind of like loosely editing as we're going. And I love John Vasquez, and so far haven't used any other editor since I've met him. He's amazing.
That's totally 100% agree of having an editor on set or having one of your shooters. Like if you have the communities like we do, where our shooters are editors as well. It's great. It's a way to go. It's like you're assembling as you're going.
Yeah, a couple projects I needed some stuff, and I was like, "Oh man, I got to get a shooter." He said, "I shoot," and he has his own. I'm like, "Oh my god, of course you do, John." Wouldn't surprise me. So yeah, got some shots for me and stuff like that, and we put them in.
But that's the best thing about this film is that your cast and crew are so well versed in filmmaking that you had a bunch of advisors on set with ideas and contributions for certain moves in the movie, and it just shows. I mean, I've seen it like I guess 4 or 5 times now. I saw it when it came to Cinemas Americas 5 years ago. I saw it on the big screen. I've seen it probably 4 times on Amazon, and man, it's just it gets better every time I watch it because it's so well cut. It moves, it doesn't lag, and it just gets funnier. Once you get the rhythm of the characters, it's like watching a Mel Brooks film. It just gets better every time you watch it.
Thank you. Yeah, it was great. Like I said, everybody came in. You know, the big studios that like you actually see us like going into some of the majors in here. Those were all, you know, relationships from Steven Jackson. You know, would say, hey, I'm going to do this shot. And they'll be like, you guys work on weekends? Of course we'll work on weekends. And we would go and get that up. So it was a lot of favors, a lot of labor of love. And so absolutely. So I'm glad it shows because it was definitely when we were doing it.
Yep. Cool.
Well, Nelson, you have any questions, Nelson? Are we good?
I think we're good. I mean, the last thing I had on here was talk about the process of, you know, from martini shots to the bullet ride, that process of just, you know, getting it sold, I guess, you know, and getting distributed. Can you tell me a little bit in a just a truncated version of how you went from martini shot to bullet ride, from a film festival to Amazon distribution?
Well, it has a lot to do with cast. So you can have a good movie, but if you don't have recognizable faces, then you're handcuffing the distributor. So we knew, you know, having somebody like John Hennigan, James Russo, and Valente were definitely going to help. So once we get them, then we can go around and surround them with great actors, you know, like Raquel Pumplum, like Kevin Reese, like Kelly and Daniel Lujan. So we start to form it that way. But I'm already thinking ahead of time, how am I going to pitch this to the distributor? So putting those people up front, here's who we have, and showing what movies they've been in, what projects they've done, how many eyes are on them. That's all distributors want to know. They want to know, okay, who's going to stop and see this movie because of the poster, or who's going to rent the movie because they're going through online, or who's going to pick up the DVD, or, you know, whatnot. So that we did it that way first, and they loved it. I mean, we had offers from several distributors because of the main actors that from the Bullet Ride on there.
That goes back to what Nelson brought up in the beginning of the interview, was the name of Martini Shot to Bullet Ride, right? The name done by the studio itself, by the distribution company, saying we're going to change the name. Look at the movie poster on the Amazon, and it's got James Russo on the front, it's got Daniel Lujan, it's got Raquel in it, and it looks like an action film. So I think they packaged it right. It sells better.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then that's the main thing. You know, I want to work with the best and stay out of their way. You know, so I don't want to tell a director of photography, you know, how to light up a shot, or camera operator how to move, or an editor how to cut. I'm going to hire the best and let them do their jobs. And the same goes with with the distributors. So you want to get a distributor that sees the project, believes in the project, and then you stay out of their way and let them do their thing, you know, because we could have went in there and fought, no, keep Martini, you know, but you got to trust them and let them, you know, do what they need to do. And I think it's great. Like I said, it works.
Cool. All right. Well, I mean, those are my questions. David, do you have anything else you may want to?
No, it's just to say that Nelson and I really enjoyed the movie. You know, we've seen it several times because we want to interview you about it. But as I said earlier, it just gets better with the reviewing. And I want to congratulate you and your team and your cast and your crew and your production team for making the movie. It's a real pleasure to see Mexican Americans on the screen, a lot of Spanish also, but yet very lighthearted. And it just shows on the screen how much fun the movie is to watch and to probably be part of the team to make it.
Yeah, it was wonderful. I was blessed, and I'm thankful for everyone that was a part of it. And it's a very special place in my heart. So glad.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for your time, Demetrius. Thank you for being our first guest on NoStarsTV, and much success to your movie and much success in your future endeavors.
Thank you. Love being on the show, and hopefully I'll be making some more, and you guys bring me back.
Sounds great. Awesome. Thank you very much. All right. Well, thank y'all, everybody, for joining us today. We'll be back next week, I suppose, with a new movie.